Ah, Roblox. What a fun kids game that I think most kids from the last generation or two have played. It's got cute graphics, fun characters, a really strange collection of, what do they call them now? Experiences? Let's see, we got classics like Work at a Pizza Place, Natural Disaster Survival, and of course the game I played the most as a kid, Senti Funball's Place. What a neat and fun children's game this is. Great to let the kids play for hours on end with the joys of brain rot while the parents go do whatever parents do. I'm sure that as the years go on, this game won't have a 200 million plus strong monthly active player base, and that the games won't get any semi-realistic. Right? Right? I never made a video on it, but I played Doors a lot when that came out and got popular. I got a healthy amount of clipped gameplay. Don't know why I didn't make a video on it, honestly. Anyway, that's beyond the point. The point is that over the last year and a half or so, I've noticed that Roblox has gotten a lot more in-depth and realistic games. Although I look on my homepage and see things like Brookhaven and Blox Fruits at the same time. So maybe it's a small subset that's getting more detailed. Over the last 18 months, I've seen an impressive rise in the quality of a certain few Roblox games, usually in the simulation genre. And today, we're going to be talking about one of the most impressive simulation games I've seen on Roblox, and perhaps the most demanding Roblox game I've ever played. Today, we're talking about Twisted. And this is seriously impressive stuff. Trust me, I did not think a Roblox game would bring my graphics card to its knees, but I've been proven wrong before. Twisted is, plainly put, a tornado chasing game. And I mean, who couldn't enjoy some good old-fashioned, life-threatening, extremely windy situations every once in a while? Am I right? I'm right. It's also only mildly terrifying at times, but in a good way, since it's a video game. Night chases are terrifying, by the way. So, how do you play it? You chase tornadoes, duh, you said it yourself. Yeah, but believe me, that's not all. Because, after all, you can't go chasing a tornado in a dinky Chevy 454 pickup, the truck the game gives you at the start. Well, okay, you can, just not well, and probably get sucked up into the tornado if you're not careful. The 454 is not a strong car. But before you can go chasing tornadoes, you'll want to pick a spawning location first. I've generally chosen Prior Lake. I don't know why, I just do. While we're here on the map, let's go exploring a little bit. Trust me, it's worth knowing the city and highway names. The game takes place in the fictional state of Keysota, based off Minnesota. I figure there's probably some Minnesotans watching, so congratulations, your watery state made it into a Roblox game. Your three big population centers are Hazleton, Prior Lake, and Hibbing. From there, like any good Midwestern state, there are just over 24 small towns and villages dotted around the map, including, but not limited to, Welchel, Wabin, Gemmel, Temstrike, Almora, Helma, and Trent. Some important highways include Keysota 15, 41, 71, 2, and 53. Various county highways also exist. Hope you memorized everything I just spat at you. After choosing a spawn location, you're presented with a couple seconds of loading stutters and a simple enough UI. You get some bonus points from me if you spawn while the power is out and it's nighttime, so you can't see jack. I'd recommend spotting a vehicle from the hamburger. Yes, that's what the 3-line menus are called, hamburger menus. The 3-dot ones are called meatball or kebab menus. The more you know. There's a wide variety of cars to choose one. But guess what? You can't afford any of them. You get the privilege of driving the dinky little 454 I mentioned earlier. Yay! After the 454 is spawned, I'd probably take a look at the thermals by clicking the little sun icon. Here, you'll find a bunch of entertaining things. We'll only pay attention to a few things here for runtime's sake. CAPE, or Convective Available Potential Energy, describes how unstable the atmosphere is and provides a rough approximation of updraft strength from within a thunderstorm. In the game, I think it roughly translates to how long tornadoes stay on the ground. Higher is better. Surface RH is relative humidity. It translates to how much precipitation there will be on the ground. Lower is better. Composites. The STP, or Significant Tornado Parameter, is a mix of multiple measurements that highlights the coexistence of ingredients favoring right-moving super... Okay, I don't give a damn. Higher is better. That's all you need to know. The storm motion generally shows where storms might spawn and what direction they're moving and how fast. Remember when I mentioned right-moving supercells earlier? We can figure that out with the hodograph. The hodograph is a fun graph showing wind vectors between arbitrary heights in the atmosphere. Yay, math! In other words, the hodograph tells us how wind is moving at different parts of the atmosphere, and this can tell us how likely it is for tornadic storms to form. Finally, up top, we see the risk for today. Slight, and for tomorrow, moderate, and for day 3, high. This is literally the risk of tornadoes forming anywhere on the map. Yippee! The risk is a scale, going thunderstorm at worst, marginal, slight, enhanced, moderate, and high at best. Oh boy, weather stuff. My favorite home-cooked meal. That was way too much information though. Oh well. Next up, we have the radar. Here, I think we all know how to read the reflectivity radar. It's your standard rain radar you see on the news. Green is light rain, red is heavy rain, pink or white is hail. We don't pay attention to reflectivity all that much, except when a debris ball forms. That's always fun. Instead, we're going to pay attention to the other radar product available to us in the game, velocity. Velocity tells us the wind speed and direction relative to the radar. Green is towards the radar, red is away from the radar. We see a fun little line where the radar is as the wind direction switches from going towards to away from the radar. Trust me, this will be important later. I think I've done enough soulless narration for a bit. Let's get into some gameplay. Oh look, a storm has formed. You can tell because the clouds are rapidly expanding. Things do tend to happen quickly in this game. There's generally several warning signs for a tornado. Here, I'll roll some real-time gameplay, occasionally cutting and interrupting to explain a little more. Here is our supercell just beginning to form. We only have a few minutes before a tornado drops, so we're going to need to figure out a best location to wait for rotation.
Tornado Genesis
Has started. We can see it with this nice beam on the ground, and on the map. This is our mesocyclone, the rotating part of the supercell. And as we know, tornadoes rotate, so this is where our tornado will spawn. Very shortly, we'll have a lowering too. While this is happening, we are going to plan our intercept to get right in the way of the probable tornado to get wind measurements. Don't worry, our tanks can handle this. At the same time on the map, we can see a neat little rotation symbol. This confirms our rotation. Here, you can barely see the lowering forming. This is, as the name might suggest, a lowering in the clouds. This will typically form into a tornado here in just a minute or two. Sometimes we'll see a debris cloud forming on the ground before the condensation funnel itself reaches the ground. And finally, after just a few short minutes, our tornado has finally touched down. Looking at the map, we can see this neat little green triangle has replaced the rotation icon. This triangle is called a tornado vortex signature, or TVS. This is important, very important. It shows the estimated wind speeds of the tornado based on radar. The TVS changes color based on the wind speeds, going green, yellow, orange, red, and pink at strongest. But do know that just because there is a TVS does not mean there is a tornado on the ground. TVS simply indicates a strong mesocyclone, but it usually means the tornado is on the ground. And TVS does not indicate the EF rating of a tornado. Tornadoes are rated on damage, not wind speed. Now, while I'm driving to the intercept point, let's explain intercepts a little bit, as they're a core part of the gameplay loop. The easiest way to make money in this game is to record high wind speeds. Obviously, it's generally windier closer to the tornado, so you'll want to get closer to the tornado, ideally inside it. Using a combination of your eyes and the map, you can figure out what direction the tornado is going, and from there, since tornadoes generally don't change direction much, where the tornado will be. You can figure out what road it'll cross next, and drive there as quickly as you can, leaving some time so you can get out of your vehicle and deploy probes to accurately measure wind speeds and get some extra cash. If you've got an interceptor, you can deploy it and ride out the tornado, and if not, you should probably drive away if it's an orange TVS or greater. The TVS does matter to us, as because it shows the wind speed of the tornado, we can use it to gauge if it's safe to intercept or not. With the TIV-1, which we're currently driving, we can barely survive a pink TVS, which indicates wind speeds of 140 miles per hour or greater. The highest winds that the TIV-1 can survive without lifting is 175 miles per hour. That is not a lot of margin, as a large gust of wind could easily push the vehicle around, and we could die. Not like there's any real punishment for dying. Now that we're at our intercept point and deployed, I'm just gonna let this roll.
Alright, we're deployed.
Alright, come here, IMAX camera. Forward power! Oh yeah, this is... Oh my god! This is gonna be good through the IMAX camera.
Tornado emergency?
Oh, They TE'd it?
It's literally an emergency to me.
Alright, this is such a
Oh, is this a bang on hit? Oh my god.
Oh my god,
please.
it is. It's a bang on.
Oh my god, this is literally perfect intercept. Alright, let's watch this spike.
Look at how great this looks. The immersiveness of this game is among the best I've experienced on Roblox. It's stunning at points. From the debris flying around the screen, to the wind noises, the camera shake, the ever-increasing wind speeds from the probes, it's downright incredible. I have to take a second to applaud the work done by the devs here. This game feels awesome, and it's hard to believe that it's running on Roblox. Sometime later, we can see the edge of the tornado as we leave it. This is probably one of the more unrealistic parts of the game. While the tornadoes do look good from a distance, they start to fall apart as you get real close and inside them. Now, to be fair, I've never been inside a tornado, and that's probably a good thing. But I don't imagine this is what going inside a tornado looks like. The inside itself, sure, I can excuse. The gray fog and the endless debris seems fine enough. But I don't think that the walls of the funnel itself look quite like solid objects. I also think it's a little darker inside a tornado. But it's a Roblox game! I hear you yell through the screen, to which I say, fine, let's move on. This is pretty much the entire gameplay loop. Intercept tornadoes, get money, buy upgrades, probes, or better vehicles, rinse, and repeat. The end goal for interceptors is the Tornado Intercept Vehicle 2, or TIV2. Or, for twice the price, a Doppler on Wheels, DOW, which will let the radar update more frequently. It's a treat for storm chasers whenever a DOW is in the session. While this is the core gameplay loop, there are alternatives to chasing tornadoes, and only most of them cost real money. Instead of chasing tornadoes, you can simply live a normal life, going to work, owning a home, that kind of thing. No need to go throwing your life in front of the devil multiple times a day. There are many, many houses that you can claim and live in, along with many places to work and earn money, and there's only a significant chance it'll be destroyed before the server crashes. Of course, what's a game in 2023 without microtransactions and expansion passes? In a shocking twist of events, Twisted has several game passes you can buy using Robux. Some of these game passes include infinite fuel, 2 times income, and a chainsaw, ooh! And then there's 2 extra game modes you can buy, Emergency Medical Services and National Weather Service. These 2 game passes let you gain in-game money by reviving NPCs in the case of EMS, and assessing damage in the case of NWS. In the game, NWS is much more fun. You get to help rate tornadoes after all. But in the real world, I'd figure EMS is a much more important job than assessing damage, but what do I know? The NWS Game Pass also grants you access to the National Weather Service building in Hazleton, which has the main radar tower, and inside the building, chairs that let you issue your own warnings and see camera feeds around the map. These 2 game passes add a lot more fun to the game, and they only cost some money. Let's take a look at some of the fun they add. Look at this! I get to walk around and press E on things. Rating damage in this game is actually pretty significant. Not doing so may result in tornadoes going unrated. And let's be honest, seeing a tornado going unrated after it just flattened an entire town, that's no fun. Being NWS means you get to actually solve this issue by assessing the damage yourself. Rating damaged houses, power lines, canopies, and trees all help the game determine the rating of the tornado on the good old EF scale. Yeah, you don't get to actually choose a rating for the tornado, but since tornadoes are rated based on damage and not measured wind speed, say, does measured wind speed actually matter besides money? You're basically choosing a rating for the tornado anyway, except for EF5, since those aren't real. The game won't let you choose the maximum possible damage unless it actually is the maximum possible damage, probably to prevent little kids from going around and trying to rate that rope tornado that hit 2 barns in EF5. Makes sense. This game is one of the few that I've played on Roblox that appears to, at least on the surface, have a slightly more intelligent player base than most of Roblox. At least everyone who chats in this game is literate. The people who play this game are usually kind, know what they're doing, and their usernames are either a reference to the hit 1996 tornado chasing movie that probably inspired more storm chasers than any other anything, Twister. By the way, I actually have this movie downloaded on my phone. Or some other tornado-related username. Oh yeah, we got Tornado Lover 69 here. It's really fun when the entire server piles up at the same intercept spot for a really powerful tornado, only for half of them to get swept away by more than expected winds. Or that one time when I had nearly the entire server parked backwards in a gas station at Prior Lake, and we all rolled out at the same time to go chase a storm. That was pretty cool. Overall, I'd say the community of this game is better than average. Although there have been one or two brand new players who act like they know the mechanics of the game, but they've been pretty rare. Small diversion over, back to the game itself. This is an incredible tornado chasing game, and since its 1.20 update in July of 2023, many people seem to agree that Twisted has become one of the most realistic storm chasing games ever made, at least in terms of gameplay and mechanics. Graphics-wise, it's still Roblox. There are better looking storm chasing games out there, such as Storm Chasers, Tornado Research and Rescue. That sounds a bit like Stormworks Build and Rescue. Or even perhaps Outbreak. Roblox is Roblox, and Roblox is limited. But that's not to say this game is bad. It's really good on the gameplay. And I'd say it could probably be used to teach someone the basics of storm chasing. The radar is very accurate to real life, except it updates way quicker and has way less range than real life. You could legitimately take your radar reading knowledge from Twisted and apply it to real life. Wow! Again, impressive work on the developers. You could also probably apply the drop a probe in the way of the tornado knowledge from this game and apply it to real storm chasing, but please don't quote me on that, nor would I say purposefully get in the way of a tornado. Leave that to the professionals. Of course, given all that, it's still true that the game isn't perfect. As I said earlier, it is a Roblox game, and it is limited by that. Severely. The game servers like to crash after a session has gone on for a little more than 6 hours. On the surface, that might sound like a memory leak, but I don't think it is. Roblox games are limited to a maximum memory usage of 6.25 gigabytes. That is the most memory that the game is allowed to consume server-side before Roblox shuts it down. The client uses anywhere from 1.5 to 5 gigs of memory depending on device, and that's ridiculous for a Roblox game. Twisted has a lot happening server-side, and that fills up memory quick. With destroyed homes, a huge map, 25 players, and tons of particle effects, the 6.25 gigabyte limit can be reached within a few in-game days. Sure, I imagine they could have more parts of the game happen client-side, but that would likely result in the game being even more demanding than it already is. The game uses nearly all of my GTX 1660 when in a place at Hazleton at night, with tons of lights. Sure, I have my graphics settings cranked to max, but that's because the game only looks good with them at max. The game often falls as low as 20 frames per second in graphically demanding situations, and rarely gets above 60. As far as I can tell, the entire map is rendered at once, and if you're in the middle of it, you also have tons of props and objects loaded to increase detail. Side note, the map is gorgeous, it's so well detailed and thought out. I know Twisted isn't the only game affected by this. As Roblox pushes for their games to get more realistic, memory usage is just going to increase, and games are going to become more graphically demanding. I also believe Roblox Studio doesn't have great tools for memory and graphics debugging, which I think would be a great help for developers. The memory limitation is easily the biggest problem with Twisted, and it's not even the game's fault. There are still a few other issues with Twisted, including the tornado effects I mentioned earlier. Another one of the semi-big issues with the game is the scale of the tornadoes. Almost every tornado in this game is what would be considered a wedge. Tornadoes in the real world can be several different shapes, with the most popular flavors being cone, stovepipe, drill bit, rope, and wedge. Although wedges can get really big, even turning their inflow jet into a disk of condensation. Hi, me editing this video here. Unfortunately, tornadoes can't turn their inflow jets into disks of condensation. Rather, sometimes the rear inflow jet can condense just a little bit, turning into a ghost train. Look it up, it's pretty cool. For the most part, the game models the shapes really well, and tornadoes can even change shapes on a dime. But easily the most common tornado shape in Twisted is the wedge, which is not realistic. I also think the effects from multi-vortex tornadoes could be better, but the effect is still brilliant. Some other things I'd like to see improved are the rating system for the NWS, more options would be nice. Faster loading times, a real punishment for dying, and for the map to feel more alive. Yes, I know most of these probably won't happen, but it's my Christmas wish list, and I'm allowed to put anything I want on it. With all that in mind, let's go ahead and wrap up, starting with a pro tip. Do not become the probe. Twisted is an impressive game on its own, and it's made even more impressive by the fact that it runs on Roblox. There are only a few other games for me that come close to this level of gameplay. The game loop is simple and terrifying, and it requires significant planning and thinking ahead. Otherwise, you're going to put yourself in some really bad situations. The wow factor I get from breaking my personal wind speed records the first time I saw over 200 miles an hour on the probe was a rush. The anxiety of being forced to sit out a tornado you know you can't survive. The fact you know you cannot control your fate. The adrenaline of seeing you and all your storm-chasing friends deploy as a massive wedge floats over, then one by one interceptors lifting. The sheer terror of trying to chase a tornado in the dark, only to see the right edge of the monster light up because of a power flash. Twisted is a great game. It reminds us that Mother Nature is a powerful force that we haven't fully understood. The game has set itself apart from the rest of Roblox, and I can only hope the game continues to improve in future updates. Until then, I'm gonna go throw myself into a tornado or two. And as always, thanks for watching.